prosperity, and victory. I'm just trying to abide in his shadows, his energy. He made me in his image. We share the same energy. Look, they say bless the gods, but I say bless the prophets. They really serve Yah. They kept their spirit modest. I know I'm the clay, and the most high the potter. Build me up and make me strong. I cannot do it alone. Even the stretch out his arms, connected like gripping palms. I'm just trying to lay down in green pastures. Pastors teach the money, call them green pastures. Came out of the world, call it detachment. I was all over the place, he had to rehash, rematch. I was off the hook, he had to relax. Man, I posted like a kicks fan. I don't say can't when you move, cause I know I can. Fast.
All praise to the Most High. Finally woke now. The Bible what I told now. In that word I can flow now. His word is my boat now. Telling people get up on board. It's about to go down. Dwelling in this secret place so I can watch the showdown. Hey, he got plagues in his hand. He about to toe down. Man, with this earth you disgusted with this whole nail. Picture drowning forever. We need to get it together. Just cause you know who you are. That ain't a ticket to heaven. We gotta walk like Messiah. We gotta talk like Messiah. L9 critic. That fire be like me up like a lighter. Lighter to the world. To the Jew and to the Gentile, every knee shall bow, boy, girl, child, we gon' scream it loud, Messiah coming back, so get it right, we in the end times, we got one last fight, you a friend to the world, you an enemy to y'all, ain't time to change your heart, stop living in the dark, man, for real, my little eyes haven't seen, no ears haven't heard, neither haven't entered the heart, so many things that the Most High got for us, man, no more pain, no more weeping, everlasting life.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, Facebook Live, good morning, Breaking Strongholds Ministries, good morning, YouTube with Orlando, keeping it simple. How's everybody doing this morning? Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. It's some out here. It's some of our brothers and sisters out here that are celebrating the Passover this weekend. It's been I think I have heard it has been a lot of brothers and sisters they actually been celebrating the Passover since probably a week or two ago. So there's a lot of brothers and sisters that have celebrating the Passover. I will be practicing the Passover on next week. Next weekend, that's when I'll be practicing the Passover. Next week. But I hope everyone is doing well. I hope that the Most High has really truly blessed you over and abundantly with love, kindness, and joy. I hope the Most High really have truly blessed your offsprings over and abundantly with love, kindness, and joy. I really truly hope He has. I really truly hope He has really truly blessed everyone that is around you all. I really hope He has. As for my week, it's been eventful. I can honestly say that it's been an eventful weekend, an eventful week. I can really truly say that we are really struggling with spiritual warfare. I really truly can. It is really real on the earth. I hope that everyone who's listening to me, listen to what I said yesterday, but if not, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to reiterate it right now. Do not get distracted with what's going on with Donald Trump and that indictment. Because next week is major, because what's going on next week, Kenya and some other nations are going to drop the U.S. dollar. And it's gonna be significant for the American economy or the U.S. economy. So Kenya is dropping the U.S. dollar. So next week is when they're supposed to actually arrest Donald Trump. So what they're gonna do is use Donald Trump arrest and his indictment to overshadow Kenya and the other BRICS nations dropping the U.S. dollar. So don't get distracted by what's going on with Donald Trump and the indictment. Be most focusing on what they're doing with the dollar bill and cryptocurrency and the Fed coin. Be more concerned about that, because that's more of a direct effect on how it's going to deal with you. So don't get so consumed that you need to be listening to everything that they're doing with Donald Trump and and his indictment compared to what's actually taking place with the fiat currency. What's up, Sister Braden, Brother Greg? How y'all doing this morning? Shabbat Shalom to you all. Let me go ahead and get started this morning with the words of today, with Exodus chapter 20. Sorry about that. Let me go ahead and get started on Exodus chapter 20, so that I can go ahead and get started on the words today. Okay. And it reads in Exodus chapter 20, verses 1 through 17. It says that, "And El spake all these words, saying, I am Yahuwah thy El, which I brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. And thou shalt have no other Els before me. And thou shalt not take unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, Yahuwah thy El, am a jealous El, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of Yahuwah thy El in vain, for Yahuwah will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy works. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah thy El. In it thou shalt not do any works, thou nor thy sons, nor thy daughters, thy manservants, nor thy maidservants, nor thy cattle, nor thy strangers that is within thy gates. For in 6 days Yahuwah made the heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore if Yahuwah blessed the Sabbath day and unhallowed it. Honor thy fathers and thy mothers, that thy days be long upon the land which Yahuwah thy El giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, and thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservants, nor his maidservants, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's." Okay, so let us get ready to pray this morning. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us of our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine to your kingdom, power to your glory, forever and ever. So let it be. Amen, amen, amen. Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. I hope everyone is doing well this morning. I hope everyone is doing well on this Sabbath day. I hope everyone is doing well on this Sabbath day. If you could turn the word of Yahuwah to 2 Timothy. It's a very familiar passage, and I probably taught on this a good while ago, but it's coming to mind again today, in this week. 2 Timothy 2:14 through 26. 2 Timothy chapter 2 verses 14 through 26. And the key verse is going to be the very familiar passage of verse 15. 2 Timothy 2 and 15. But 14 through 26. But the key passage is the same familiar passage. It's a very familiar passage. Verse 15. And it reads, "Study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth." Okay, let me read it over. "Study to show thyself approved unto a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth." And if I may give a title to teachings today, the title of the teachings today is Your behavior shows people what you believe. Your behavior shows people what you believe. Okay, I'm gonna give you two words today. The 2 words today is conscience. 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 It's a 12th century word. And the word conscience means internal or self-knowledge or judgment of right and wrong, or the faculties, power or principles within us. Listen to that. Power or principles within us, which decides on the lawfulness or unlawfulness of our own actions and affections. Instantly approved or condemn them. Faculties of knowing what is right, or a sense of fairness or justice or moral sense. Okay? It's like sometimes when we see some people do some things and we say, man, they don't even have no conscience. They don't have no conscience of what they're doing. They don't even care about what they're doing. And a lot of times we associate that with how America, how the U.S. treat us as Hebrew people. He said, man, they don't even have no conscience on what they're doing. And the word conscience in that sense means internal or self-knowledge or judgment of right or wrong. Meaning that they don't even have no conscience or self-righteousness within them to make fair judgment. Okay? The second word is salvation. Salvation. Salvation is a 12th century word. Salvation means the saving of the soul, deliverance from the power of sin, and admissions to eternal bliss. Admission to eternal bliss, and protection or preservation from destruction, danger, or calamities. Let me read that over, and I want y'all to hear that clearly. Salvation means the saving of the soul, the deliverance from the power of sin, and admission to eternal bliss, protection or preservation from destruction, danger, or calamities. To be able to help us, the supporting verse that I'm going to use today, to be able to help us to understand conscious and salvation, and what it says to study to show thyself approved unto a workman that needed not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Let us go to James 2 and 14. Okay. James 2:14, it says, what do it profit, my brethren, though a man say he has faith and have not works? Can faith save him? If a brother or sister be naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you say unto them, depart in peace, be ye not warm and filled, notwithstanding ye give them not those things which are needful to the body, what doeth profit? Even so faith, if it has not works, is dead, being alone. Okay. So what it's saying in that verse is whatever you believe, you have to put it to work. You gotta do what you believe in. And if you don't do what you believe in, your beliefs don't exist. Also, what helped me out a lot, and I'm finna get ready to go. I'm gonna get ready to go to something too. I'm gonna read a couple of things to give some foundation to my thought process today, or the teaching today. Let us go to John. First, John 1:14. John 1:14. I'm gonna go to John 1:1, and then I'm gonna go to John 1:14 because and then I explain it to you in a second. John 1:1, okay? It says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Listen to that. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Now go down to the 14th verse. Okay? Then it says, and the Word was made flesh and dwelled among us, and we beheld his glory, and the glory as of only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. Okay? So, what opened my eyes to 2 Timothy 2:15 is those two verses, because we got to truly understand what they call the New Testament is all about. The New Testament is about spirituality, but it's also about what you do on the earth, how you live your life, what is you're doing in this moment, in this present day and time, how you are affecting your brothers and sisters on the earth. That's what the quote-unquote New Testament is all about. The New Testament is trying to teach us whatever you believe in your mind, that's what you would do, not just in your life, but also what you would do towards other people. That's why Yeshua's life was so exemplified, or so powerful, because he was showing you how to live on this earth, how you should be, what is most important, what is valuable on the earth. And it opened my eyes, because a lot of times we think that the Bible is a belief book, but in actuality, it's a lifestyle that you live. That's why I say I'm practicing the Passover next weekend, because it's something. The Passover is something I believe in. So if I believe in the Passover, I'm gonna do what the Passover tell me to do. I'm gonna do what the Word say do about the Passover. I'm gonna practice the Passover. And what struck me this morning is Exodus chapter 20. Okay? And then I'm gonna get ready to get done with get ready to get started. See, Exodus chapter 20 verses 13 through 17 is all about how you treat your neighbor, how you treat people. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear falseness against thy neighbor. That is how you should live your life. That is how you should be towards other people. It says, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, ass, or anything that is a neighbor. Don't be jealous. Your lifestyle should exemplify your thought process. What is actually in your mind. That's what your thought, that's what your behavior should be about. How you live your life. Like, if you feel like we are in the end time prophecy, we're in the end times, you should be living as if we are in the end times. You should not be living as if we have another 100 years to go. You should not be living as if we got so many more years to do things. If you believe that, you know, your life, the Most High is subject to be here any moment, you should be studying really right now to get yourself together, so when He comes, or when these afflictions happen on the earth, you will be ready for them. Your life will show you what your life will show people what you believe. That's the way you should be. That's the way you should be doing things on earth right now at this given point in time. Okay? So let me read you something right here. Let me read you something. I Googled some stuff this morning, right? And, okay. Because sometimes when we look at 2 Timothy, when we look at 2 Timothy 2:15, when the word say to study, we taking that as reading the word, studying the word. That's what we take it as, okay? But that's actually not what the word study means in this text, but I'm finna show you some stuff. And it's talking about education, because let us understand. Also, Proverbs 23 and 7. It says, for as he thinketh in his mind, so is he. So is he. Eat and drink, said he to thee, but his mind is not with you, or his mind is not with thee. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. So however you think in your mind, that's who you are as a person. So when you look at John 1:1, if you believe that the Word is God, and if you believe in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, then you go down, then the Word became flesh. That's how you look at it. That's how Jesus, or Yeshua, became able to do all the things that he did. But he had become one with the Word. And so when you become one with the Word, your mindset changes. Your whole thought process changes. When your mind changes, you change. That's why when people say, I'm a vegan, that means literally they have changed their life mind. They changed their whole demeanor. When you say, when a person claims that they're alcoholic, they have their whole lifestyle is about just drinking and getting drunk. When you hear a person say that I'm a drug addict, their mindset and their behavior is all about drugs. Whatever a person say he is, that's what he performs, or that's what he does. If you say I'm a financial analyst, that's all you do, is you work on your finances. If you say I'm a real estate agent, that's all you are. You are about selling real estate. That's what your whole life is consumed on. selling real estate, doing what it takes to be a real estate agent. So whatever you say in your mind, that's what you do. Okay? So now, that is what you consume yourself with. That is who you evolve into. So when you're looking at education, right? It says how education impacts the well-being of a nation. And I'm just going to read you a little bit of it. It says education works through the enhancement of cognitive abilities, which is a combination of intelligence and knowledge, and also through the mechanism of changing personalities and behavior. When we're looking at education enhances the cognitive abilities, the thinking abilities of the mind, which is a combination of intelligence and knowledge, and also through the mechanisms of changing personalities and behaviors. Okay, so what is cognitive abilities? Cognitive function abilities refers to the multiplied mental abilities, including learning, thinking, reasoning, remembering, problem solving, decision making, and the attentions. That's what the cognitive, when you are educating yourself, you're giving yourself the abilities to learn, to think, to reason, to remember, to problem solve, to make better decisions, and to be more attentive to whatever the situation is. Okay? Then it says, research suggests that the more education you have, the happier you are. But it is a nuisance than that. But what it's basically saying, it says a research study found that while pursuing higher education can diminish happiness temporarily, obtaining a degree isn't a walk in the park. More educated people are happier than those less educated counterparts starting off in the early mid-30s. And the reason why the educated people are more happier than the people who are not as educated is because of their cognitive abilities. And their cognitive abilities is learning, thinking, reasoning, remembering, problem solving, decision making, and their attention span. So when you are more educated or astute in something, you are able to make better decisions when it comes down to doing things. Okay, so when you're more educated in, say, real estate, you're more able to make better decisions in real estate than somebody else who's not that smart in real estate. If you're more educated in the financial market, you're more successful and more happier in the financial market because you have educated yourself to be able to make better decisions when it comes down to the finance. And also when it comes down to the Bible, if you're more astute or you're more educated in the Bible, you are more able to understand what's actually taking place in the world than those who are not educated in the Bible. You understand certain things more than others because you have sat down and you become a student or you become a servant of the Most High because you sat down and educated yourself when it comes to the Bible. That's why John 1:14 is very powerful when it comes down to the new covenant. When the word became flesh is something I think we overlook, but it's very valuable and important to important to study in the new covenant. That's why you see so many people lifestyles have changed. That's why you see the rising of the Hebrew Israelites, because Why? They didn't just sit and listen to somebody tell them what to do. They sat down and studied for themselves and got educated. And when they got educated on the word, that's why their lifestyle changed. That's why their lifestyle changed, because they was able to reason, they was able to think, they was able to make better decisions, they were able to give more of attention to the word because they just studied the word more. They just didn't sit up and listen to somebody say, hey, take this and this is what it is. No, they didn't do that. They sat down and studied. When they sat down and studied, they said, okay, we don't supposed to be going to church on Sunday. Okay, we don't supposed to be eating swine. Okay, we're supposed to be pressing the Passover. Okay, we're supposed to be practicing the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And they started thinking, okay, man, they just didn't change. Their whole lifestyle changed. When it says the man shouldn't work, women shouldn't wear clothes as men, you can see why they changed, why they're dressing the way they're dressing, because they have educated themselves on the Biblio, the Bible. Let me read you something else too, okay? It says cognitive function of the brain. Conception, perception, attention, and memory. Okay, it says, we will introduce several important cognitive functions of the brain. Brain cognitive functions are the mental processes that allows us to receive, select, store, transform, develop, and recover information that we receive from external information. This process allows us to understand and to relate to the world more effectively. When we are able to educate ourselves on everything with information from the Bible to finances to real estate, we're able to respond totally different than uneducated people. That's why they got this element from this pipeline from school to prison. The prison pipeline, because they make sure they stop our youth from getting educated at the age of 3 and the 3rd grade. That's why they did not allow us to read, and that's why reading is so fundamental, so important, because it helps you to be able to change your whole way of thinking. It helps you change your whole lifestyle. Because this last week, right, and I'm finna get back to it, this last week, right, I've been saying, I know that the dollar finna fall. I know that the economy is going on. I know this and I know that. And I said, that's the information that I know. So now when I know these things, it makes me make decisions on how can I be successful when I see something is on the horizon. So what I did yesterday, I went and bought fruits, and what I went and did, I bought some vegetables for my garden. So I started planting my vegetables. Okay, what I also did was I said, now if the dollar's getting ready to fall, let me make decisions on what cryptocurrency I should be trying to invest in so that I won't be affected when the dollar falls. So now, because of this information that I know, it's going to help me make a decision to go out here and invest in some digital currency like Bitcoin. Because it's going to protect me and help me to be able to buy products that the Fed coin will not allow me to buy. So when I see all these things and I got the information, it helps me to be able to make a decision on how I can be able to have salvation. Because salvation is saving of the soul. Saving of my soul. Salvation is deliverance from the power of sin, wickedness, and admission to eternal bliss. Okay, this also protection and preservation from destruction. That is the most important. Salvation is protection and preservation from destruction. That's physical. So when I see all these things coming on the scene, I can protect myself from being physically destroyed with the Most High's help. Okay, so now let me go back to it. It says, cognitive functions are brain-based skills we need to carry out any task from the simplest to the most complex. They are related with the mechanisms of how we learn, how we remember, how we problem solve, and pay attention. To be more specific, in this paper we will talk about the perceptions, intentions, and memory functions of the human brain. Several other brain cognitive functions: arousal, decision making, natural language, motor coordination, planning, problem solving, and thinking. We will be added. We will add to this paper in the later version, respectively, many of the materials used in this paper from Wikipedia and other neuroscience introductory articles. But it's basically saying the more educated you are, the more you're able to make better decisions. That's why when we go back to 2 Timothy, now let us go to 2 Timothy, right? And I'm not gonna hold you long today. Let us go to 2 Timothy 2 and 14, because we're talking about us as a people, us as Hebrews, us as a nation, us as an individual. The more educated we are, we don't have to have a master's degree, we don't have to have a doctorate degree, but we have to have books or information that we read on a daily basis to be able to help us function in this realm or this reality that we're in. And the more educated you are, the more you're able to make better decisions. And that's what Paul is talking about in 2 Timothy 2 and 14, 2:14 through 26. Okay, and it says, and go to verse 14 first. Okay, I'm going to verse 14 first. It says, of these things put them in remembrance, into action. Of these things put them into actions, charging them before Yahuwah, that they strive not about works to no profit, but to the subverting of the hearer. The word subverting means to overthrow, to change of the hearer. So how we change people's mindset is not what we say with our lips. How we change people's mindset is not what we say in our mind. It's how we live our life. Because I tell people all the time, everybody looking at everybody. Everybody is watching what people say, and everybody is watching what people do. That's why the title of the teaching today is, your behavior shows people what you believe. So when you look at that, it says, when you look at the word subverting of the hearers, but to the subverting of the hearers, okay, charging them before Yahuwah that they strive not about words to no profit, but to the subverting, the overthrowing of the hearers. Because the way you live your life would tell people that what you believe is more profitable than what they believe. If they're not doing what they believe and you're doing what you believe, it would show people that what you believe is more beneficial to life than what they believe when they're not doing what they believe. Because when you look at the Bible, right, this is what the Most High showed me this morning. He said, because if you look at, because he took me back to James chapter 2 and 14 through 26. This is what he told me this morning. He said the Bible is an action Bible. The Bible is an action book or Bible, and not just a belief. That's why faith without works is dead. That's why it's so important that we understand that if we don't put our belief into action, we could never get anybody to believe anything that we say. Because that's why he called the Pharisees and the Sadducees hypocrites. Because he said, believe what they say, but don't do what they do. Because the simple fact is, they did not even do what they said. So why should a people listen to them when they're not doing what they say? But when you do what you say, do what you believe, and the people who you're trying to convince to do something, if you just did it and don't say nothing, it will have people to change their lives without you even saying anything to anybody. You see, Jesus, if you go out, if you look at the life of Yeshua the HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ, he never tried to convince anybody to believe anything he said. He never went to try to convince anybody to believe anything. He just did. His works spoke for what he believed in. His work spoke for what he believed in. His work spoke for him, and he didn't have to say nothing. He didn't say not one single word to try to convince somebody to believe what he believed. He just did it. He just healed people. He just fed people. He just visited the sick. He just put his life on the line for people. He didn't go out there and preach to them and try to convince them. He didn't do it. He talked to his disciples behind closed doors, but he never tried to convince people to do anything. His actions were more prolific or more profound than his words. Okay, so now when we look at verse 15 in 2 Timothy 2, it says, study to show thyself approved unto God, unto El. Okay, let me break this down a little bit because I want to put it into a different layman's term. Because if we're talking about the Bible or the Bible being an action book, okay, it says, make efforts to display yourself accountable unto El. That sounds totally different than what it says right here. It says, make effort to display yourself accountable unto El. Making sure that you represent the Most High the way you're supposed to represent Him. That's what it's basically saying. Represent Christ, represent the Messiah, represent the Most High in a way that your actions should be representing Christ the way it's supposed to be representing Christ, the way He wants you to represent Him. That's why He was so hard, and that's why He was so on the Pharisees and the Sadducees, because He said they are hypocrites. Paul did some of the same identical things that the Messiah did. Okay, it says, verse 15, it says, make effort to display yourself accountable unto El, a workman that needed not to be ashamed, rightly or straight, dividing the word of truth, living out the word of truth. That's what that means. So in this day and time, when we see all these things going on earth, we should be living how we believe. We can't say we believe the word but don't live the way the word tells us to live. If the word say, come out of her, my people, so that you won't partake of her sins, that means come out of her. And it's more in detail than that because of the Social Security card, the birth certificate, the IRS, and all that other stuff. It's very deep when it says come out of her. It's very deep when it says come out of her. But let us go to let us go to Hebrews chapter 4, verse 11, because I want us to understand something. How we live really tell people what we believe. Hebrews chapter 4, verse 11. Okay, because I want us to I'm dealing with the word study. It says, Hebrews chapter 4 verse 11. But let me go to verse 10 first. It says, for he that is entered into his rest. Listen to that. For he that is entered into his rest, he also has ceased from his own work, as El did from his. Now listen to this. Let us labor therefore to enter into that rest, lest any man fall after the same example of unbelief. For the word of El is quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing as under of the soul and spirit, and the joints and marrow, is a discerner of thoughts and intent of the heart. See, when you start to really study, to do or make an effort of the word, you're going to labor. You're going to do. You're going to do the work. You're not just going to preach the work. You're going to do the work. Because it says, let us labor therefore to enter into that rest. What rest? Christ's rest. His rest. His work. Let me do something. It means to get away from what you want to do and do what he wants you to do. Okay? Let us go to 2 Peter. Let us go to 2 Peter 1 and 10. Listen to this. It says, wherefore the rather, brethren, give diligence to make your own, it says, give diligence to make your calling and elections sure. For if ye do these things, ye shall never fall. For so an entrance shall be ministered unto you abundantly unto the everlasting kingdom of Yahuwah and Savior Jesus Christ. The word give diligence to make your calling and election sure means your purpose. You doing what your purpose is. You doing what your purpose is. And that's the thing. A lot of us are not doing our purpose. A lot of us have a purpose, but not doing our purpose. And the reason why I say that, let us go to 2 Timothy 1 and 9. Because I want us to understand that we all have a purpose. Our purpose is not just to live our life. Our purpose is to be doing something on this earth to benefit humanity, to benefit the people. Because when you're doing your purpose, it's helping other people improve their life in some shape, fashion, or form. 2 Timothy 1 and 9 says this, who has saved us and called us with a holy calling, not according to our work, but according to his own purpose and grace, which was given us in Christ Jesus before the world began. What it's basically saying is, you had a purpose in this world way before you was born. But you got to get to your purpose. Your purpose is helping other people. That's what study to show thyself approved. Make an effort to display thyself accountable unto El, doing what he has called you to do. That's basically what 2 Timothy 2:15 mean. But let us go back to the second chapter, verse 16. Because listen to that, I'm going to go back. And I'm going to read the verse how it says. It says, study to show thyself approved unto El, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed. Listen to that. A workman that needeth not to be ashamed. You are a servant. You are a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Meaning doing what you're supposed to do, doing your calling. Now listen to this. But shun profane and vain babbling, for they will increase unto more ungodliness. Push away the wickedness of the world, even from a thought process and even from a behavior process. Don't even deal with that. Don't even deal with it, because it's just going to increase in more ungodliness. The more you entertain wickedness, the more it's going to increase. It's just like the United States going over to Ghana in the African continent, trying to get the African people to accept the LGBT community. And the Ghanaians are saying, we're not entertaining that. Because the simple fact is, that's ungodliness. It goes against our culture. It goes against what we believe in. It goes against our lifestyle and culture and customs. We're not entertaining it. So we're going to even establish laws that prohibits LGBTQ community over here. If we know that these people are practicing that, we're going to prohibit it. We're going to put them in jail. That's what Paul is saying. Don't entertain the foolishness, even from a thought process and from a behavior process. Because that's why Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, went over to Ghana to try to influence them by giving them $100 million to promote LGBTQ community. And they said, we're not fooling with that foolishness. Go on with that. We don't want that over here. That's how you shut it down. That's how you stop it. And that's what that verse 16 is saying. But shun profane and vain babbling. Not just from the mouth, but from the behavior process. Get it away. Push it away. And let them know we don't want it. For they will increase unto more ungodliness. The more you entertain it, the more it will increase. And it says, and their words will eat as doeth a cranker. Meaning that the reason why it is so prevalent over here in the U.S. is because we have allowed it to continue to go on and fester and fester and fester and fester. The reason why the LGBTQ community is so prevalent in our society today is because we have entertained it. We are an example of entertaining wickedness. The Pandora box over here has opened and we cannot close it. So, because the Pandora box has opened and we cannot close it, it shows you what we believe in. We believe in, over here in the U.S., we believe in lawlessness. We don't believe in the word of Yahuwah. We don't believe in a man should lay with woman and woman should lay with man. We don't believe in that because we are pushing other agendas that goes against what the Bible says. But you don't see Africans from the continent of Africa coming over here saying, we believe in man having more than one wife. We believe in polygamy. They say we believe in polygamy. A man having more than one wife. You don't see Africans coming over here trying to influence Americans or the U.S. to participate in polygamy. But the United States is entertaining homosexuality over there. That's something that the Bible's trying to say. Don't entertain that bull crap no more. Verse 18, and it says, whose concerning the truth have erred? Okay, it's talking about these two guys up here. It's talking about Harmonious and Philetus. That's what his name is. Harmonious and Philetus. Okay. They entertained the bullcrap. Let me read it over. And their words will eat as doeth a cranker, of whom is Harmonious and Philetus, whose concerning the truth have error, saying that the resurrection is past already, and overthrew the faith of some. So what it's basically saying, when you allow ungodliness and wickedness to come in, it will allow you to continue to err. It will make you do things that you know you should not do. Not just from a personal, but from a nation point of view. If we would have never allowed some of the things that happen in the U.S., it would have never took place. But we said because we allowed it to happen, you can't close that box now. It's gonna spread to where over here in the U.S., a 65-year-old man can marry a 12-year-old girl, if that's wanna be. They trying to get it where it's so lawlessness here in the U.S. that's just out of control. Anything goes. Okay, but it says, verse 19, nevertheless, the foundation of El standeth sure. Listen to that. Nevertheless, the foundation of El standeth sure, having this seal. Yahuwah knoweth them that are his. And let everyone that nameth the name of Christ depart from iniquity. Sin. Sin is an action, not a thought. But in a great house there are not only vessels of gold and of silver, but also of wood and of earth, some to honor and some to dishonor. Let us go to 1 Corinthians so you can understand this passage better. 1 Corinthians chapter 16, but let me read it over so we can get some understanding when we go to another verse. It says, but in a great house there are not only vessels of gold and of silver, but also of wood and of earth, and some to honor and some to dishonor. Like today what we have in America on this earth. It got gold and silver here, but you got some of wood and of earth. But you got some people here that honors the Most High, and you got some that don't honor the Most High. You got some that are sinful, and you got some that are righteous. That's what that verse means. But let me go to 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 16 through 17. And it reads, it says, know ye not that know ye not that ye are the temple of El, and that the spirit of El dwells in you. Listen to that. Let me read that over. Know ye not that ye are the temple of El, and that the spirit of El dwells in you? If any man defiles the temple of El, defiles you. If any man defiles the temple of El, which is you, him shall El destroy. For the temple of El is holy, which temples ye are. What Paul is saying, your actions really displays what you believe. And whatever you decide to do in your life is telling people what you believe in. And then it says, Paul is saying, don't continue to entertain babbling people because they will lead you astray. And he gave you an example. But the reason why people are led astray, and the reason why people don't do the things they're supposed to do, because they really don't know who they are. But actually, you are the temple of El. You are the temple of God. So, however you treat yourself is how you're treating the Spirit of God. However you treat humanity is how you're treating the Spirit of God. How you live your life is telling people how the Spirit of God lives in you. However you think about you is how you will be. If you're saying that you are a king, you're really degrading yourself when you say I'm a king and a queen. Because you say I'm physical and not spiritual. Because we're here getting a physical experience, even though we are spiritual creatures, people. So when you say that I'm king and queen, but in verse 16, it says in verse 17, if man defiles the temple of El, him shall El destroy. For the temple of El is holy. He's telling you, you are holy. Which temple ye are. It's telling you a temple of El. You're a temple of God. You are a God. And if you destroy yourself, you're destroying a God. You're destroying the Most High. But you'll only know that if you study and educate yourself with the Word. See, you have people walking around and say all the time, I'm a Gentile. I'm a Gentile. I'm a this. I'm a that. But this verse is telling you you're way more than that. It's telling you you're way more than just a Gentile, a heathen nation. That is what it's telling you. So how can you have your mindset such on a low level of thinking when it's telling you you're up here, but you're placing yourself down here on the earthly realm? Let us go to Hebrews chapter 3, 2 through 6. And it reads, who was faithful to him that appointed him, as also Moses was faithful in all his houses. For this man was counted worthy of more glory than Moses, talking about Yeshua, inasmuch as he who has built the house has more honor than the house. Listen, listen to that. Listen to that. For this man was counted worthy of more than Moses. For this man was counted worthy of more glory than Moses, inasmuch as he has built the house, has more honor than the house. The subdivision is not known by the house itself. It is known by the builder of the subdivision. Listen to that, and that's what this verse is saying. It is saying Christ is bigger than the religion itself. You should honor the Christ more so than the religion. It says, for every house is built by some man. Listen. But he that built all things is El. And Moses verily was faithful in all his houses as a servant for a testimony of those things which were to be spoken after. Basically, we are just used as testimony for the verification that the Most High exists. That's all this is about. We are testimonies that the God exists, and we are telling everybody and showing everybody through everything that we do, how we do it, and the way we do it, that El exists. Even when you see the wicked, it's still showing you that El exists. How you live your life, it is explaining that. And the last one, in verse 6, it says, but Christ as a son over his own house, whose house are we, is telling you that Christ is over us right now. Christ is over us right now. If we hold fast the confidence and the rejoicing of hope firm unto the end. Meaning that we see everything that's going on because our intellect, because of our education and wisdom and knowledge and understanding of the word, if we hold fast to the word to the end, we will have salvation. But a lot of us don't see it that way. Let's go back to 2 Timothy 2:21. This is we have to get out of the concept of thinking we're going to be saved by thinking. We're only going to be saved by what we do. If you're seeing a financial crisis coming, and if you don't make adjustments to your finances and setting yourself up for financial success, you're going to destroy. If you're seeing that the food crisis is going to explode, and you're not planting no food in your backyard, you're not doing something to, or if you're not buying food, you're going to be destroyed. If you're not buying weapons and ammos and you see that it's a crisis going to come, and if you're not protecting yourself, you're going to be destroyed. Once you understand your reality and you respond to it in a righteous manner, you will have salvation. Because salvation also, is the etymology word, means protection and perseverance, preservations from destruction, danger, and calamity. Meaning that you're going to protect yourself from what's on the horizon. You got to protect yourself from that. You not just got to protect yourself physically, but you got to also protect yourself spiritually from what's coming on the horizon. Okay, verse 21. If a man therefore purge himself from these, he shall be a vessel unto honor, sanctified and meet for the master use. If you educate yourself and be ready and understand that you are a temple of El, you can be used for the you can be used for the works of the Most High. And prepare unto every good work. Listen to that. If you do what you're supposed to do, mentally and spiritually, the Most High can use you for His purpose and for your purpose. But if you don't, let's see what happens. And then it says, flee also useful. Listen. Flee also useful lust, but follow righteousness, faith, charity, peace with them that call on Yahuwah out of a pure heart. It says, but foolish and unlearned questions avoid, knowing that they do gender strife. That goes back to verse 16. What did it say in verse 20 and 23? But foolish and unlearned questions avoid, knowing that they do gender strife. What does verse 16 say? But shun profane and vain babbling, for they will increase unto more ungodliness. Verse 24. And the servant of Yahuwah must not strive, but be gentle. These are actions. This is behaviors. This is a lifestyle. But be gentle unto all men, apt to teach, patience, and meekness, instructing those that oppose themselves, if e'er peradventure will give them repentance to the acknowledging of truth, and that they may recover themselves out of the snares of the devil, who are taken captive by him at his will. The word snares means traps. See, we can't continue to entertain babbling and all this other stuff. We can't entertain that, because if we really truly educating ourselves and studying the word and studying the things that we're supposed to study, we won't get trapped. We won't get caught in traps. We'll prepare ourselves for the things that we know we need to prepare ourselves for. We will live the life that we believe. Let me read you something out of the book of Enoch. This is the book of Enoch right here. Okay? Okay, it says the book of knowledge, the keys of Enoch. The book of knowledge, the keys of Enoch. Okay? I'm on page 256, and I'm just going to read you maybe one or two things, and then I'm going to stop, and I'm going to be done for today. Okay? It says, now at the end of this cycle, we're seeing the second Adam. Because what this book did was open my eyes up, right? It showed me where we are at. It showed me that we are... It says the world we are in is the in-between world, which have fallen from grace. We are in the world that has fallen from grace. We are in the world that has fallen from grace. We are in the world that has fallen from the true connection of the Most High. Because as soon as Adam allowed himself to take on the knowledge of good and evil, that's when the world fell from grace. But that's when the world came into grace. The life that Adam was living before the encounter of the Hashitan, before the of the book of the chapter 3, before that encounter, it was a perfectionist life. It was a perfect life for Adam and Eve. It was a perfect life because they did not have any sins. Now, the fall of Adam and Eve is the beginning of grace, but the fall away from grace. Because now we have taken on a total different lifestyle, which is when he said we was born in sin, not from a physical sense, but from a world sense. The atmosphere, the environment. So now we are in the middle. So now when book of Revelation comes, and now when Christ comes again, we'll get back to the beginning, which is a perfection life, which is a perfect life. Why? Because Christ led Adam at the beginning, and then Adam fell, which is now what we're in. And so when Christ comes back, we'll get back to a perfectionist life. But this middle here is to show you how you should live and how you should not live. It is a class of teachings. But if we don't really truly understand that, we're going to miss it. We're in the era of grace, but the falling away from grace. Adam was in a period of grace before the fall. When the Messiah comes back, we're going to be in a period of grace after the fall, because we're going to be in a life of perfection again. But let me read you something. On page 256 it says, now at the end of this cycle we are seeing the second Adam, man, being made through the visitation of the lords of light, or the higher intelligence, which reprograms him because he has lost his conception of telethought communications. Since he has lost the ability to reconcile multidimensional levels of consciousness programming, the Elohim factor takes over and programs the survival mechanism in the second Adam man identity pattern, so that he can go back into the light form of Adam. Okay, let me do this. I'm about done though. I don't want to give you too much. When you go to Genesis chapter 1 verse 4, and it says God saw the light that it was good, and divided light, and God divided the light from the darkness. It's talking about happiness, and it's also talking about the physical light. It's talking about education. It's talking about the intellect. The light in this verse means the wisdom part. At that beginning, because we have to understand, when did the Most High put the tree of knowledge of good and evil in the Garden of Eden? When did the Creator put the knowledge of good and evil in the Garden of Eden? In verse 4. See, that's when he put the knowledge of good and evil in, is in verse 4. He put all that on the earth at the very beginning. And that was in verse 4. Okay, and it says, 1 Corinthians 15, 47, 49. It says, the first man is out of earth and made of dust. That's talking about the physical. And the second Adam, the second man, is out of heaven. That's why you're talking when it says, that's why it's very important that we really look at when it says Adam, they say Jesus is the second Adam. Yes, he's the second Adam because the first Adam was the physical. Like the Old Testament, when you look at the Old Testament, you read the Old Testament, it's coming from a physical understanding. Everything in that First Testament is about a physical. But when you look at the New Testament, it's basically spiritual. It's talking about how you should live your life from an intellectual point of view. How you should live your life on how you should treat person to person. That's spiritual. That ain't from a physical sense. Okay, and then it says in verse 14, as the one made of dust is, so those made of dust are also. And as the heavenly one is, so those who are heavenly are also. So what it's saying, we are both. We can't have the possibilities of being the Adam the first, and we also have the possibility of being Yahshua the second, or Adam the second. Because we can live in the physical realm every day, but how we live as a person dictates if we're going to be Adam the second, or we're going to be Yahshua the HaMashiach. or the Hashatan, because our life displays who we really truly worship and love. Okay, and then it says, and just as we have borne the image of one made of dust, we shall bear also the image of the heavenly one. We have the possibilities of bearing also the image of the heavenly one if we really truly do his work, if we really truly do what he say do, if the word becomes one with us. Then it says we must understand that this key of Zohar, and in this key from Enoch, the planetary atom race upon this dust world creation was evolved out of a fallen magnetist blueprint of intelligence transferred to the sphere by the fallen watchers who intercept one manifestation of many divine atoms creations. Okay, so how we got to be at the point that we are today is because of the fallen angels. The fallen angels have taught us wickedness. So Yeshua the HaMashiach had to come in and teach us righteousness. So if we understand that the fallen angels, and that is in Genesis 6, if we understand that the fallen angels taught wickedness from the very beginning, and that's why the Most High had to destroy it, because they were teaching wickedness, and now Yeshua came to teach righteousness. At some point in time before Yeshua the HaMashiach came, it was wickedness on the world. Yeshua had to change it. That's why none of the people followed the prophets, because they didn't understand it. It was a spiritual thing and not a physical thing. So now when we look at it, Yeshua comes to teach the spiritual. It's very spiritual how we live right now. If we become one with the Word, we will become the temple of God. We will become the image of Christ, the image of God. If we live the way we're supposed to live and believe the way we're supposed to believe, we can become that image. But if we don't, we won't. Okay, and then it says, the Adam society which has fallen from light must be measured in terms of the world that preceded this world. How we know we have fallen from grace? We got to look at the world which was before Adam. How Adam was before he met the Hashatan. Adam walked with God. Adam walked. It shows you that Adam walked with God before he had an encounter with the Hashatan. Adam walked with God every day. God and Adam was having conversations every day, all day long. God was telling him, don't eat that, don't eat this, don't eat that, you can eat this, don't eat that tree, but you can eat this tree. That's the relationship that they had. Now where we at today, we don't have that relationship like that on like they had, like Adam had with the Creator. That relationship we don't see it on the earth. Okay? And then it says and then it says again, in the world that will be restored so that the Adam-like force can shine as the brightness of many heavens, participated in many stars. And I know y'all probably ain't listening to that. Y'all may not understand what I'm saying, but what it's basically saying, what I'm basically saying, and I'm done. Your behavior show people what you believe. Basically, that's what it shows people, what you believe. What you believe. Your way of thinking shows people what you believe. That's why it says in 2 Timothy to study to show yourself approved. Meaning to make an effort to show thyself accountable unto God, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, a servant that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Because you live in what you believe. Okay? So we have to continue to increase in education and to study, to make ourselves conscious so that we can have salvation. And our salvation comes through our actions, not through a thought belief. The more we study, the more we be aware of what's going on, we can respond in a way where we can have salvation for ourselves. The more we study, the more we educate ourselves, the more we read more books, and the more we put more information into our mind, we will live it, because we will make sure that we don't make bad judgment calls. Okay? So let us pray so we can go. Abba, as we come to you today, we thank you, we bless you, we praise you. I will give you all the honor and the glory. We thank you for everything you have done, what you're continuing to do. Abba, we just thank you for everything. We thank you for what you're doing. We know that you are the Alpha and Omega. We know that you're the beginning and the end. We know that, you are who you say you are. We know that. We ask that you just help us and continue to be with us and guide us and cover us and lead us in the ways in which you want us to go. We ask that you help us to be able to make the right decisions with the information you have given us. We ask that you help us to continue to pour down wisdom and knowledge and understanding into our mind so that we can become better people. Abba, help us and direct us and lead us and guide us. Help us to become better people for the future. Because we know we have fallen from grace, but we know we also are in grace. So help us to be able to be in the new world that's coming, in the promised land. Abba, help us to see the way you want us to see, hear the way you want us to hear, and speak the way you want us to speak. And all these things we pray in Yahuwah's name, so let it be. Shalom, shalom, shalom. And happy Passover for those who are practicing it today. Or remembering it. Listen.
Yeah. Hear me out. Black man, black woman, know that you are heaven sent. God blessed you with melanin. It's quite an embellishment. Every time I look at you, I see excellence. Praise the higher for being such a perfectionist. You've been told your whole life that you were ugly, huh? By the ugly ones, they just jealous pics, cause they ain't got your genetics. They spend thousands to have your features and they still look pathetic. Damn. In every black neighborhood, there's a liquor store. I wonder who put them there and what they did it for. They know that alcohol is detrimental to your body. Once consumed, it destroys your mental. They want for you to indulge in these substances, and by they, I'm referring to your government. Now we take the word government, you will find that government's controlling it means the mind. They want us to operate in our lowest nature. They were successful, but God sent me to elevate you. I just want us to get back to what we used to be. Kings and queens, know that you are royalty. You claim to be African, you claim to be Indian. None of that really matters, cause all of us are indigenous. Know your worth. You the salt of the earth, but somewhere in time we lost our flavor. Disconnected from nature and all the aspects of it has been demonized. And we've been programmed to believe that I broke away from religion, and I'm so glad that I did it, cause shortly after that's when I started to realize that this God we've been seeking out the whole time is dwelling deep on the inside of each and every one of our temples. I meant bodies. You no longer need to see the truth because I just dropped it. Real talk. Now this is where I step away, take a break, find a quiet place to meditate, relax my flesh as my mind begins to elevate, raising my consciousness to a higher state, create a true equilibrium, synchronizing the two left and right hemispheres of my encephalon. The work is done, I'm illuminated, now carry on.